Glendale Hall, born 1938.
And so how old does that make you now?
I'm 88 years old.
How old do you feel?
I feel like I'm 88,
You
but I'm fairly good. I can't run no more. I can walk kind of fast, but can't run no more.
you do good walking, I'll tell you that. You're a fast walker.
Well, I was born at my daddy's house, a midwife.
Hmm.
And my two auntie, my grandmother and my auntie was midwives, and so back then we lived a long way from the doctor. So most times in the black community, most of the babies were delivered by midwives back in the late 30s, early 40s.
Hmm.
So
And what was the name of your community?
Germany community. And I'll tell you a little story about my sister. I had an older half sister. She was married, and her and her husband had a funeral home and a grocery store. And so one of my sisters went to live with her for a little time during the summer.
Hmm.
And some of her friends would come in the store and ask her, Pernell, where you from? From the woods. She didn't know about Crockett or German woods, so we grew up next to David Crockett National Forest. So the first thing she said, I'm from the woods.
That's all she knew. Wow.
Because every morning when she go to sleep, wake up, she was looking at the woods. When she went to bed, she was looking at the woods.
Uh-huh.
So she said, I'm from the woods.
Hmm. Now, when you were a kid out there, had a lot of that been cut down already by sawmills?
Well, the National Forest was giving permits. You could cut out a little bit. That's why I told you the Hunt sawmill was out there. They bought timber from the forest, and I guess they had some property out there too, because my daddy said the old Hunt place.
Hmm.
So, but anyway, they had a sawmill, and they cut down a lot of that timber back then. But then they stopped. I guess the National Forest stopped selling timber. They preserved everything. So you could the dead hardwood you could cut, but not no live trees.
Okay. Tell me how far you can go back to your family owning land. How far back does that go out there in Germany?
18. I would say about 1846, 1847. Just after 1845, after the 19th of June was.
Well, that was 63. That was 1863 or 1864. The emancipation.
Well, the slave was free, but the black people in Texas didn't know about it because they didn't want to tell them about it because they wanted to keep them in slavery for a couple of more years. So then after they freed them, that's when I guess the government or somebody was giving out land grants to certain black people in the neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
And my grandfather, my two grandfathers, and two other people was granted land. So back in that German community.
What was their names?
The ones that got the land, Lewis Hall, Van Benton, Horace Moore, and I think it was one more, probably the Cannons, I guess, the Cannon family.
So you would say that those people who were your ancestors were some of the first blacks in the Germany community?
Yes.
Okay. And do you know how many acres they each had?
I would say altogether had to be probably about 1,000 acres, which was between the four families,
Mm-hmm.
and it was split up between them, and then they split it up between their kids and grandkids.
Okay.
So my great grandmother was a slave.
Okay.
On my daddy's side. I don't know about my
Do you know
mother's
her name?
side. Huh?
Do you remember her name?
Her name was Jane Burt.
Jane Burt.
Jane Burt. Yeah,
Okay.
She was a Burt.
Do you know where she was? She from the south somewhere?
They came from Mississippi, as far as I know.
So your ancestors that settled Germany came from Mississippi?
As far as I know.
Okay. Do you feel like your parents or your grandparents maybe, did they know much of those stories, or was that pretty far away?
They would have known. My daddy was a pretty good historian, but like I said, we didn't have somebody like you to come around and do
Right.
an interview so I'm just going by what I heard them say and what I saw in my lifetime.
Okay. Now this is an obstacle that I've been running into, is a lot of people tell me about something called grown folks talk, where when you were a kid you didn't necessarily get to hear a lot of these stories about how y'all got y'all's land and back to slave days, because they oftentimes didn't talk around that stuff.
They didn't talk about it too much. They really didn't. But
do you think your parents or your grandparents were proud that they owned their own land and were able to maintain by themselves?
They knew that if they had their own land, they could take care of their family, and they provide. Because basically, they lived off the land, so that's how they survived. They raised vegetables and they owned chickens and pigs and cows, and so if you had land, you had your own cows, your own milk, your own butter, your own eggs, your own stuff. So you could live pretty good. You might have to buy sugar and flour and coffee, but that's about it. So.
Do you remember what your grandparents were doing for work? Were they working for white folks on any?
Most of them worked on the farm. They did on the farm.
You mean they were basically self-employed?
Self-employed.
Okay.
Because now back in my dad in the early years, and my dad was in World War I, but back in the early years, he worked for the government. When they first started the National Forest, they had a crew to come out there and set up everything, and he worked for them to call they had a name for it, CC camps. They called them CC camps. They used to have, they worked for the CC camp, and him and all that, that's what they worked for. And then that's basically what the only work other than my dad ever did was after he came out of the army out of World War I.
Did your dad talk about his time in the service with you?
He talked a little bit about when he was in France. Him and my old other brother, they was in France, and I think they was in France when the war ended, so they came back home. They were fortunate enough to come back home.
So was cotton a very big deal out there for your grandparents or your parents?
Well, over on the highway, most of the white farmers had cotton and corn. That's what they raised for a living.
On Highway 21?
Yeah, and cotton was big in Houston County. Cotton and corn was, and watermelons. Watermelons, cotton and corn. So,
did your parents or did you, after y'all were done with y'all's crops, would you go to other farms? I
did. I chopped cotton, picked peas and stuff like that.
Do you remember the names of those farms?
One of them was the Whitakers, the Forrest and Troy Hopes, and the Allen family, the Dale Glant family, and that was about it. Those four families were the ones that had most of the land at that time.
And these were farms on 21 headed towards Crockett?
Yeah, on both sides of the highway. Was from B-Lot all the way to almost to the city limits of Crockett. There was cotton and corn.
Really?
Yep.
Okay.
And going on the north side, it was mostly watermelons and peanuts, stuff like that. Peanuts, because it's kind of on that side was kind of sandy land. On the south side was more best for cotton. So they raised a lot of watermelons and peanuts, and they had what they call Bruce plum orchard. Raised a lot of Bruce plums up in that area.
Okay.
So
now, of your neighbors in Germany community, were they also pretty well like y'all, self-maintained?
Most of them was self-maintained.
Okay.
And a few of them that didn't do it, they had their kids and things worked out for farm, what they call farm now. But
what do you mean?
They work for other people, what they call sharecroppers.
Sharecroppers.
Yep.
Okay.
So if they didn't own their own land, they could sharecrop.
In your parents' time, how many families would you say black families were in Germany, or even in your time? Maybe
There was
7 or 8
probably
families?
about 12 or 13 families when I was growing up. Then they started moving out. When the kids got up and graduated, they would move. The family, old head would die out, and the kids would move to Houston, to Dallas, or Palestine, or Lufkin. Most of them left out by, and probably in about but during the 60s, it was down to maybe just about a half a dozen families
Okay.
that lived in Germany.
Did you ever hear from your parents or your grandparents about facing discrimination out there? Or were they mostly...
My dad was kind of, I don't know how you would describe him. He was kind of extraordinary. He got along with everybody, and everybody respected him. And he got respect from white and black all over. He could go to the bank in Grapevine and write a commissary note and get whatever amount of money he needed to buy his seeds and fertilizer and all that stuff without no problem. Just to give you an example, we didn't have a mail route. We had to go all the way to the highway to get our mail. They had a mailbox itself. And my daddy talked to the postmaster there in Grapevine about getting a mail route through our community. And so he told him, well, what you got to do, you got to go through and get a petition and get everybody on that route to sign it. And then you got to take and you got to talk to all the people that own the land. They got to permit for the government to take whatever land they need to widen the road so they can make a road for it to be well. So Daddy first he got a petition, got it signed, then he went around and talked to the landowner. Some of them didn't want to give up 5 feet on each side of the road. Daddy, he would almost cuss them out, and before he convince them, he had a way of convincing people, so all of them agreed for that. So that's how we ended up getting a mail route down through our property.
Okay.
So
what was your father's name?
Arnold Hall.
Arnold Hall.
Yep.
And your mother? Your mother?
My brother was
No, your mother.
My mother, Lola Hall, Lola May Hall.
Lola May Hall.
She was former Lola Benton Hall.
Okay. So your father just worked farming his whole life?
Yeah, and they said he knew how to do a lot of different stuff. I don't know how he learned it, but he didn't have too much academic education, but he had more than his share of common sense, what we call mother wit.
Yeah. I've talked to a lot of folks from the Lundy farm and the Murray farm who lived on the farm in what they call a tenant house.
Yeah.
So you didn't own your own land, but you were able to live on the farm, and you didn't have to worry about getting the money for seeds or figuring out how are you going to pay for all that, because you had a place to stay, you had the commissary where you were able to eat. You didn't really have to worry about your meals so much.
That's what we call a lot of that was part of the sharecropping deal too on the tenant houses. You raised so much, and you keep 60% and you gave 40% to the landowners. A lot of black people lived in what you call tenant houses.
Yeah.
There.
But nobody from Germany was living that kind of life.
Most of them had their own property.
Okay.
Because their family owned the property and it passed down to the kids. And most of them didn't sell their property; they kept it. Now
that's another question I have. Back then, if you were struggling just to eat, what kept your ancestors or your neighbors from selling their land back in the day?
I don't know. It was just wanted to be independent. I would imagine it was something that you just didn't want nobody telling you what to do and when you could do it and all that. You had your own property. You did if there wasn't no regulations on it, so you just kind of did your own things.
Did either one of those people look down on the other, like, hey, we own our own land?
No. Everybody. Everybody went to the same church, and just about when if somebody had a house, some house got burned or somebody got sick, everybody come together. Most of them worked together. Okay, just to give an example, my daddy used to kill hogs once a year, like in November, December when it got cold, and he would go get several men out to come help him kill the hogs. And if they need calves or pigs or horses or something castrated, my daddy would go castrate them for him. And he knew how to, and he knew how to, like I said, he knew how to pull teeth and cut hair and all that stuff.
Tell me about the teeth. Tell me about the teeth. We got to hear that one.
He had a set of two tooth pullers, and one for the jaw teeth and one for the front teeth. And if your teeth were loose, he would pull it, but it had to be loose. He couldn't cut on it or anything. So he one of my daddy's friends had a toothache, and his tooth was hurting him, and he said, "Arnold, so you gotta pull this tooth, it's hurting." He said, "Well, if it ain't loose, I can't pull it." He said, "Well, it's hurting, you gotta pull it." So he said, Daddy got his tools out, put them down and pulled it up. He came up with the tool. He said, "I told you I couldn't." But anyway, he learned how to do I think what he did, he went around people that was doing these things, and when they do it, he would watch them, then he turned around and do the same thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I don't know if I told you by the time he operated on them chickens. Anyway, we had chickens, and we had a pea patch just outside, right outside the house. And when the peas got dry, so we would pick them all off. They would dry on the vine, and sometimes them chickens would get out there and eat those dry peas. And when they eat them, they would swell up and they crawl. Mm-hmm. And so they didn't have enough rocks and whatever they choose to grind them up, and they were walking around with their crawls over. And then so them over here, about a half a dozen of them got out there in that pea patch, and he said, "Them over here is gonna die." He told my mom, said, "Go in there and get me a razor blade and a needle and thread." Uh-huh. So that night when they went with the roof on the roof, we went out there and caught them off the roof and put them in the coop. Till the next morning we went out there and caught them. He took that razor blade and cut that craw, and took a piece of wire, made a hook on it, pulled all them peas out and sewed it back up, and they lived. So I said, "Damn!" I said, "I didn't know you was a surgeon."
Wow. So what about church? When you were a kid growing up, do you feel like, was there any difference between services then and services now? Because I heard even some churches, the men would sit on one side and the women would sit on another side.
It wasn't. They had what they call the amen corners, and on both sides it was most of the deacons and the senior women would sit kind of on side, and the deacons would sit on one side. Uh-huh. So like they had the secretary and the other people's treasurer and all those would be sitting on, and most of the deacons would be sitting on that side of the pulpit.
Why do you call it an amen corner?
Because that's where every time the preacher would say, they would say amen.
And y'all would get baptized at that creek by the church?
At that creek down there by the church, yeah.
Okay. Do you remember any of the old preachers' names?
My teacher, the one I remember was, I had an uncle, Pap Dow, and one that baptized me was Reverend Smith. Reverend Smith, Pap Dow. Then we had one named, in the later years had Ord, and right now Reverend Thacker's out there now. But Ord, and you had I can't think of.
Have you ever heard of the phrase jackleg preacher?
Oh, that somebody that did went to wannabe, a preacher wannabe. Uh-huh. That's what they call them, jackleg. They didn't know the Bible too much, but they was trying to emulate being a preacher. As a matter of fact, they had Sunday school, day church, and then they had night school, especially on Sunday.
Really?
And then they had a prayer, what they call prayer meeting on Wednesday. School prayer meeting every Wednesday, and then all day Sunday, the Sunday school.
Did y'all have a BYPU program?
BYPU, all that, yeah.
So tell me about childhood when you were out there. Did you ever go to school full time? Or, because a lot of folks who I've talked to, by the time they got, 9, 10 years old, they stopped going to school and they worked full time. Were you able to go to school full time?
Daddy wasn't going to have he made sure we went to school.
So he valued education.
He valued education. Okay. He didn't have that much education, but he knew the value of education. He taught himself how to read and write and all that. And the amazing thing about my father, numbers in his head, you could call off numbers, and he could give you sum it up. Like you said, Well, 69 and 89. He's 69 and 59. He's just like a computer.
Wow.
He was good in his head.
Okay. So do you know about your father and mother? Did they go to school there at the?
Now, I don't think neither one of them graduated from high school. Mama went to about the 10th grade, I think. Daddy went to about I don't think he made it to the 7th grade. He might have went to about the 6th grade.
Because he went to work.
Huh?
Because he went to work, right?
Yeah.
What about your grandparents? Do you think the school goes all the way back to your grandparents in Germany?
My grandmother and my grandfather's side, on my mother's side, they probably had about 5th or 6th grade education.
Okay.
They didn't have that
but
much
they probably
education.
at least did go to school.
But now my grandmother did maid work most of her life. She did work, iron and wash for the white families over on the highway.
Okay.
That's how she made her living. And my grandfather Jess, he did a little bit of what they call truck patches around the house.
What do you mean?
Raised small. Well, truck patches actually is an oversized garden. They call them truck patches.
Oh,
It
okay.
was bigger than a garden, but you had several different vegetables and stuff in it.
And so when you were a kid, what would y'all do for fun out there?
For what?
For fun?
Oh, we created our own fun most of the time.
Uh-huh.
Jumping out of trees and learn how to climb and I tell you what we used to do. We used to catch a crawfish. My dad had a pond, and we used to catch crawfish and put a string on them. My sister and I, and make pets out of them.
Bacon or something?
Yeah, and make pets out of them. That's why I can't eat crawfish today. I don't eat crawfish. We make and the big old grasshoppers. We catch them, make pets out of them, and I learned how to make a bobtail truck. You cut down a sweet gum tree, and you cut you some wheels, you run a motor block, and get your 2 wires, put the thing and put a handle on it, and you make a bobtail truck out of that. Now you take that and drive up and down the road, up and down
No. Wow. Okay.
And I didn't get a bicycle till I was about, I got a bicycle when I was about 14, I guess, because whenever I had an uncle that lived up the road from me, his son had a bicycle that they bought for him, and he had outgrown it and got a car. So my uncle took the bicycle and hung it up in the barn, in the garage. And so my uncle had some corn in the field that he wanted to gather, and he didn't have nobody else. So I saw that. I said, Uncle Dick, said, what you gonna do? He said, well, that's Billy Roy's bicycle, but I don't think he's gonna use it no more. So if you don't want it no more, if you help me gather that corn, you can have that bicycle. So he asked Billy Roy if it was okay to get selling. Bill told me yeah. So he made me go out there and help him gather that corn. Take him 2 days. But I got that bicycle. That's when I got my first bike. But the rest of the time, I basically made my own toys.
How did the white folks treat the black folks in Germany when you were coming up? Did y'all associate with them much?
We associated with them. We got along. They never did abuse us or nothing like that. As far as I know, because like I said, my daddy didn't take no shit off of nobody. Okay, he gave respect, but he demanded respect, and he got it. So that's where, and nobody didn't give us no problem. I started school when I was 5 years old.
Okay, did you enjoy it?
Because what happened, I had some older sisters that went to school, and my auntie was teaching school at Germany Community School.
What was her name?
Sally K. Strong.
Sally K. Strong.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was my auntie. They used to have, I don't know if you remember Dick and Jane, C-Spot Run or whatever.
Yes, I've heard that.
Well, anyway, that was the first book. My auntie sent one of them Dick and Jane books home when I was 5 years old. And that's how I learned how to read. That's where I don't understand how kids go through high school and they can't read. I never have understood that. Yeah. I knew how to read when I started the school. Yeah. I was reading C-Spot Runs, Dick and Jane. I mean, that was when I was 5 years old. So I started school a year early.
Yeah.
So we were supposed to start at 6, but my auntie was teaching us, so she told me to bring me on out there. So back then they didn't have no people tell you when and what you could do, basically. So matter of fact, just about all of us started when we were 5 years old.
And how was the school? How many rooms was in the school?
Three. It was 1 through 3, there was three room school. 1 through 3rd was in one room. 4th, 5th, and 6th was in the next room, and then the next room was 7, 8, 9, 10 was we only went to the 10th grade.
10th grade?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you remember any more names of any of the teachers that you had out there?
Yeah, V.M. Strong, which was my auntie's husband, and you had Mr. Burns and his wife, and you had Helen Jackson, and Skurlock. I think my first teacher was Miss Skurlock.
Miss Skurlock?
Yeah, her name
was her? That's all right. Don't worry.
I can't think of her first name. I know her last name was Skurlock.
Yeah.
And those are the teachers that I remember. When
and the kids who you were going to school with, what other communities would they have been from? Because they weren't just from
some of them came from Tadmore.
Okay.
And most of them were from the German community, but we had a few came up from Tadmore. They brought them up there on the bus.
Did they not have a school at that time?
I don't know what happened. They probably didn't, because they came up. They brought them up there on the bus. It was a bus. Was about, I guess, about a half a dozen of them came up every day on the bus.
So a lot of the times on some of these towns I'm working on, let's say if you're from Cedar Branch, you had Daly's, or you had Raynard that was nearby, or you had Mount Zion that was nearby. These communities would associate with each other. And a lot of times, you know, one church had services on the first Sunday, the next church had services.
They still do that now.
But it seems like in Germany, y'all were kind of isolated, where there wasn't any other black communities that were real close to y'all.
Well, you had Augusta. You had Augusta, and we Augusta in a little town called Beery. You know, Beery.
Yes.
We associate with Beery, Augusta, and let's see. What's that other? You named another church that we used to associate with. I couldn't think of the name of it.
Franklin Top?
Franklin Top? No. But those up north. They was up in north. They was north of.
How many acres did y'all grow cotton and corn out there?
Not too much cotton. We raised everything else. Well, what happened? My uncle, by all our property being connected, my dad had access to Uncle Lee and Uncle Prescott, so he had altogether 100 acres. It had to be 100 acres, because all of them had 35 acres apiece, and they didn't raise too much, so whatever they didn't use, my daddy would fill it in.
Okay.
Like I told you, he even raised that river cane over there on the beach for a couple of years, over there by the beaver farm.
Tell me about y'all associating with your neighbors. What would y'all do, you know, as a community? When would y'all was weekends y'all's time to get together?
Mostly on Sundays. Everybody came together on Sundays at church.
What would y'all do after the church service?
After?
Uh-huh. Would you go to other folks' houses and hang out?
Well, sometimes people that live near the church, sometimes people would visit them, you know, around and talk. Everybody get together and discuss what they were going to do for the next week and all this stuff, all the gossip and all this stuff. So that's where Beulah's house was right close to the church, and most of them would go down to her house before they went home, and they'd get all the stuff and talk about the rest of the week.
And when you were a kid, were you able to just walk along the county roads and play?
That's all we did was walk. I used to walk to the store. You know how far the store is from the highway, right?
Yeah.
I used to walk over there and back. So me and my cousin, we walk. Well, we didn't go around the main. We would cut through back then you could cut across them fields and stuff, you know, different people's property. You should take a shortcut, but we used to walk over to the store, walk over to the mail. We had to walk to the highway to get the mail from the highway. We go about twice a week, pick up the mail over at the highway. They had a big mailbox over by Dr. Evans. Had everybody lived back in the neighborhood. There's mailboxes over there, and you go pick up your mail about twice a week.
Okay. When y'all were going to school, did you have many obligations with helping your father with his crops during school
Well,
time?
we did work on a thing, but basically we do it after school or before school, like milking the cows and all that, feeding the hogs and all that stuff. We did it before and after school, but he never did hold us out of school to work.
Okay.
And on the weekend there, I had to do work, or those schools. Then, and a lot of times during the summer, you had school wasn't going on, so that's when we did most. I did most of my work on the farm.
Were y'all able to do any hunting or fishing for food?
Oh, that's all we did. My mom and I would go to fishing, but probably 2 or 3 times a month. And my daddy, he was very impatient about fishing. If me and him went to fishing, if they didn't bite in the first few minutes, he was ready to go. But my mom had more patience. Dad liked to hunt. I used to go hunting with my dad. Go coon hunt out in the forest.
In the national forest.
National forest.
Y'all get coons, squirrels.
Coons and squirrels.
Okay.
That's about it. Coons and squirrels.
Where'd you go fish at?
We had a pond. Sometimes we used to go over to most of the time we had creeks. Those creeks that run down through there. We go in those creeks. And then on my grandfather's place, they had a creek called Davis Creek that ran down through there. And also it was a matter of fact, community swimming hole. A big old, it was a creek, but it had a section about as big as this room, and we called it the swimming hole. And the water was probably about 6, 7 feet in that hole. That's where I learned how to swim there. But anyway, there was a lot of fish in there too. And we'd go to that creek and fish. And me and my mom used to go fishing 2 or 3 times a month. She loved to fish, and I did too.
When would y'all go to that fishing hole, the swimming hole? When would y'all swim?
We'd go down there for about once or twice a month. But we had several different creeks that we could go to at that time. Had fish in them. You want catfish, you had perch fish in one, catfish in this one, and we found out which one catfish. That's where we would go.
Yeah. Did y'all have did most people have wells, or did y'all get
water? But most people had wells. They had water wells. They had their own water wells.
Wasn't the water better?
And I had a cousin. He was a well digger. His name was Bud Allen. Yeah, he dug it. Just about everybody's well in the neighborhood. He dug it.
Did he do that for work? Did he travel around?
That's all he did. He didn't farm it. He dug wells.
Wow.
And when every so often you had to go down and clean them out. And he would go down there and clean them out and maintain them. But
get down in it?
Yeah, he was about my size, but he was small. He could get in small holes. But he was well known. That's all he did was dig wells.
Wow.
That's what he did for a living.
Now, one more. You got to tell me the story. What you told me about being at Madine's store when that man hit you across.
Oh well, that was Nadine's store. I went over there to get some groceries for my mom, and I was going around through the store, and when they had that old pot-bellied stove with a heater thing. I guess it must have been in the wintertime. It had to be because him and his friend, I guess, was standing up by the stove. And when I came around by her, he had a can of Prince Albert in his hand, and he hit me over the head with that can of Prince Albert. And so Nadine saw him. She said, John, his name was John. That's why I told her I had the cotton jeans. She said, John, you shouldn't have done that. And he laughed. And I said to myself, I said, you SOB, I'm going to kill your ass. So I don't know. Somehow he died before I had a chance to get him, because I'm glad I didn't, because they probably would have lynched me. But anyway.
Did you tell your father what happened?
I didn't tell my dad, because Mom said, don't tell on him, because he might get in trouble. He'll go over there and check. But Daddy never, I might have told Dad after he died, but but Mama knew about it, but I never did tell Dad about it, because Daddy probably would have challenged him, and been a confrontation, because my daddy didn't back down too much. He didn't back down off of nobody. They used to have a prison rodeo in Huntsville every year. And my dad was on radio, so every year he would take me down to Huntsville to the prison rodeo. And I always remember that, being with my dad. That's why we enjoyed going there and watching the prison. Sometimes the prison, if they could ride certain horses, certain bulls, they would take time off of their time and get so many years off. Yeah. So, but anyway, that's something I did with my dad. And I was fortunate enough to, I was in the Future Farmers of America, and I was in the 4-H clubs. So I raised 1 year I raised an acre of corn.
Did your mother have to work the crops? Or?
My mom didn't work too much in the fields. So every now and then she would come out there and do a little, but most times she took care of the house. She did cooking, washing, and stuff like that. Sometimes she would come out there like pick peas or tomatoes or something. Because we raised tomatoes and cucumbers and peas. that's what we sold in the market, and then also peanuts. That was our 4 crops that we made our money on for.
And you sold them at a farmer's market?
From the market road in Grapevine.
In Grapevine?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And when y'all were on free time, the kids were playing, what were the grown folks doing? Just gossiping?
In the free time?
Yeah.
Oh, like I said, we ran up and down the road, and like I said, when I got my bicycle, I used to ride my bicycle a lot then after I got old enough to get a bike. But we quit shoot marbles and stuff like that. When the other boys would get together and shoot marbles, that was a big thing back then, marble shooting.
Uh-huh.
And then we'd just go hiking. Sometimes we'd go out in the woods and just hike.
Really? In
the
national forest?
Yeah. I remember one time, I went out there one time, me and my dog, and I got lost, and I couldn't find. So I went to sleep. I cried myself to sleep, and I woke up, and my dog was still there. Old Trip, I never will forget it. He woke up, and he looked at me. I looked at him, and I didn't know what I was going to do, man. So he started trotting down the road. Then he stopped and looked back. I said, shit, I'm going to follow him. So I started to follow. He just kept on trotting. And then about an hour later, I came up, I saw that. I came back. I said, he brought me out of them woods. There's 2 things, a dog and a horse. They get back home. And I know it's true, because old Skeet did me the same thing. I got lost, I just put the reins down, let him go, and he brought me straight on back to the house.
So what year did y'all stop going to the Germany school? What year did it close?
Well, probably in the mid-50s, I guess, because Dessa was born in 48.
And then
she went to school in Crockett, so it had to be in the mid-50s.
And so
I was already gone.
Oh, you were gone when it closed?
I left. It was still there in 55 when I left.
So did you go to the 10th grade?
I went to the 12th grade.
Really?
In Crockett. I went to we were called Ralph Bunch.
You ended up going to Ralph Bunch?
Ralph Bunch, yeah.
Okay.
Where it was Crockett Colored High, and then it changed over to Ralph Bunch.
Uh-huh.
That's where I went. That's where I finished it.
When you went to Ralph Bunch, you were going to school with people from all over.
From all over. That's when they closed. They consolidated a lot of the schools and brought them all. Matter of fact, it was about 4 bus loads came in from different sections. Hopeville, Hopewell, and the mountains, and all out in there came in kids. Matter of fact, that was the largest. My class, my 7th grade class, was the largest class that ever went to that school, because all the people came in from the different schools.
You mean at Ralph Bunch?
At Ralph Bunch.
But what year did you leave Germany to go to Ralph Bunch?
Okay, I was 12, 13, so that was had to be 51, I guess, 51. So 53, 54, 55, 52.
Oh, what did y'all do for health care out there? I know there wasn't any.
There wasn't too much health care. Like I said, you had that one doctor, and something had to be very serious for you to went to the doctor. So basically, them old women, your aunties and the grandmas, and they always took care of whatever it was. But no, and we was fortunate. None of us ever really get no real serious injury, because we'd have been in trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we just kind of toughed it out.
Yeah. Do you remember anybody having any kind of herbal remedies with some kind of plants or whatever they'd make?
That's all they had.
Do you remember any of them?
Well, catnip tea was for babies.
What was that?
It was a plant called catnip.
Uh-huh.
They said cats, like, I don't know what it, but anyway, they used to make tea out of it and give it to babies for hives. And then they had, you could take some mullein and some pine straws, and you boil that. If you had the flu or pneumonia or something like that, you take that and break the fever. And another thing, for the flu, my grandmother, she'd take some about 3 or 4 tablespoons of lemon juice, about 3 or 4 tablespoons of honey, and about a couple of shots of Christian Brothers brandy, and you heat that and drink it, and go to bed, and you sweat, and the next morning, if you got the flu, you'll be feeling better. That was from honey, lemon juice, and brandy. And you heat it up a little bit to warm it up to how you can drink it, and then drink it and go to bed. And what happens? You sweat, and all that stuff will come up.
What about poke salad?
Poke salad, that's right. My mom used to make poke salad.
Yeah.
My sister still make it. She still make it. So, yeah. I know you know about poke salad.
Yeah, I've been learning.
Yeah.
But didn't y'all do that at a certain time of the year?
Yeah, you got to do it before it starts to scoring the seeds. You got to catch it early, before it go to seed. Once it go to seed, you can't use it no more. But what happens, you got to boil it twice. You got to boil it twice and drain it. Pour the water off, and then you can put the eggs and onions and stuff in it, make poke salad. But you got to catch it before it go to seeds, because after it start going to seeds, that's when I guess the poison comes up in it or something.
Yeah. Somebody told me it would clean you out.
It will. if you eat too much of it at one time, you can eat a little bit of it, but if you eat a lot of it, it will clean you out.
So the purpose wasn't necessarily just to clean you out, it was just to eat.
It's just to eat.
Oh.
But if you eat a lot of it, it would just like prunes. You can eat prunes, but if you eat a lot of them, they will clean you out too.
Yeah. Now what about all the dewberries? What did y'all do with those?
Blackberries, that's another thing. My mom used to can blackberries, and matter of fact, that used to be my favorite pie. My mom made blackberry pie, and they was everywhere. So we wild blackberries, and back then you had a lot of wild fruit. We had mulberries, we had black haws, and chickpeas. Chickpeas was kind of like chestnuts, but they taste better than chestnuts. And
did you ever eat persimmon?
Persimmons, man. We had persimmons. You don't even see them no more now.
Not much.
Oh man, but we had a lot of them. We had one big one right out behind our barn. Me and my sisters would go up there and up in the tree. We'd be eating persimmons all day long.
Yeah.
And you can't eat them before they get ripe though.
They're sour.
You got to wait till they get ripe. But when they get ripe, they're good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Were you got along with your siblings pretty well?
Huh?
You got along with your brothers and sisters pretty well?
I got along with. I was the boss. I was the oldest one.
Oh.
Well, I tell you, my mom had a very serious operation when I was about 13, I guess, and she had to go to Galveston, and they had to operate on her, and she had part of her intestine was messed up, and they was deteriorating, and so they called my dad. Told him, said, you need to come down and give us permission. So we're going to perform an experimental operation on your wife, but we got to have your permission. Said, we only had 2 cases like this before, and they had one in Louisiana, they had one in Galveston. So we think we learned enough off of these 2 cases, we might could save your wife. She said, they told him there's a 50-50 chance, but you got to sign off. So my brother-in-law came and got my dad and took him to Galveston. He signed off, and so what they did, they operated on it, and they had to take part of her intestines out, and they sewed them back together. And my mama took me. She said when they operated on, they pushed it in the recovery room, but she said they pushed her in the death room. She took me. She said they pushed me over in that death room because they was experimental, and so she said that she stayed in a coma for about 2 days, I guess. They said they come in and check on her every day. They said one day the doctor come in one day and she had her eyes open. So the doctor said, her name was Lola May. Said, Lola May? She said, yes. She said, how you feeling? She said, I feel all right. She said, looked like he had seen a ghost when she said, because he almost turned white because she had recovered. And she said, I'm glad you're feeling all right. So because she said, he told us that we done everything we could and we couldn't do no more. She said, well, I wasn't worried about it because the doctor, Jesus take care of me. And he told her, well, we glad Jesus took care of you because we did everything we could do. and my mama lived until she was 95 years old.
Wow.
And I was only about 12 or 13 then. And she lived till she, that's right.
What a blessing.
She outlived everybody else in her family. And my grandmother had 14 kids. 7 boys and 7 girls. My mom outlived all of them.
Wow. What a
Right,
blessing.
from that she was blessed, she really was. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
But I had to learn how to cook. I had to learn how to braid hair. I had to do all of that because I was the oldest one for kids to go to school.
Did
Right.
your mother hand make clothes for y'all?
Yes, she did. She made clothes. She had the patterns. She bought patterns and she made dresses for the kids. She doesn't make no for boys, but for them girls, she made dresses. She made shirts. She can make shirts, but she didn't make no pants. But she made shirts and dresses for the kids, for the girls. She did.
How often would y'all go to Crockett when you were little?
About once a week. About no more than about once a week. Daddy used to go to Grapevine about twice a month to get groceries. He would go to Grapevine in a wagon, and he'd get about, I guess $30 or $40 worth of groceries in the back of the wagon, because we didn't have no car at that time. So
Why was he going all the way to Grapeland if there were stores in B-Lot?
Because they didn't have what he needed. The Grapeland had the grocery stores, and whatever he needed, he could get in Grapeland.
Yeah.
Plus, he knew what merchants up there. If he needed something for credit, he didn't have to worry about it. He'd go up there and get it, and he'd pay him later. But most of the time, he paid for most of it. But a lot of times, he buy something big or some large item, he might have to pay it off a little bit at a time. But they always let him have whatever he wanted. He could get it.
Mm-hmm.
I remember Daddy sent me to the store, to the bank. The bank owner was named Kennedy, Mr. Kennedy. Daddy gave me a note, a handwritten note, and said, take this note up there and give it to Mr. Kennedy and tell him to send me, I don't know, maybe I think about $200 or $300, whatever it was. I took that note up there and gave it to him. That man put that money in a brown paper sack, gave it to me, and I brought it back to the house and gave it to my dad. His daddy needed, I think, $300 for something, and he couldn't go. And he sent me up there, and I said, that's a whole lot of difference now. That you can't go to no bank and get no money, no promissory note. Things changed a lot since then.
Yeah.
That goes to show you how important and how strong he was in the community. He knew the bankers, he knew all the merchants, and all of them respected him. And whatever he needed, he could get it.
Did you go to one of the movie theaters when you were
Yeah,
kids?
we had moved there, but we had to go upstairs though.
Yeah, at the Ritz?
Ritz in the Texas, they had a tea house. Ritz had a regular thing, and tea house mostly had westerns and continuations. I used to go most of the time I went to Texas because I wanted to see western. I'm a western movie freak, and then they had Superman and Rocket Man continuation. You go, and at the end of the movie, they show them something, then they cut it off. Then you have to go back to the next week to get the continuation.
This is what they call a serial.
Serial, yeah.
How was it for y'all in town? Did you spend much time around Camp Street?
Camp Street, I swear that's the only place you could go. The LaRue's drugstore was right on the corner, and it was all white, and the white kids could go to the thing and sit at the bar and order their milkshakes and all that stuff. We had to buy ours and get all the store, take it back to Camp Street, and we could go in there and buy stuff, but we couldn't stay in there. We had to get it and go out. Same thing about when Dairy Queen first came to Crockett. They had a little hole cut in the wall about this big, and the whites could go in the front and sit down there. We had to go around the back, go up to the window, pay for it, pay for your food. Then you go up there and get it, then you had to leave off the property. Stuff like that. That was kind of effed up, but
does that still kind of rub you the wrong way when you think about that? Does that bother you?
Yeah, it did, but I
mean now when you think.
No,
back.
I don't. Well, it's just the way it was, I guess. You know, I thought I realized how messed up it was, but it's done. It's like I said, nothing can be done about it now. You can't undo what's already been done.
But y'all couldn't. So y'all could get something on the square, but you couldn't just hang out on the square. You had to get back.
We go back to Camp Street most of the time. Well, you could shop anywhere in the thing, but once you buy your stuff, you basically had to go back to go home or go back on Camp Street.
What's some of the businesses you remember? You remember Nook's Cafe on Camp Street?
Well, you had Miss Nook's with the hamburger joint, and you had the barbershop. Everything black owned was on Camp Street. We had the pool hall, a barbershop, and the laundry, and you had a little dance hall where we would dance and play music and dance, and all that was on Camp Street.
Now this is what somebody told me. Camp Street was all right, and you could consider it a family area except for Saturday night, and then at Saturday night it got kind of rowdy.
Yeah, it get kind of rowdy on Saturday night.
Okay.
Friday and Saturday night,
Uh-huh.
and most of the time Sunday was pretty calm, but a few kids hang out down there before 9 o'clock, because you could go in that one little club and dance, and they had a jukebox in there, you play music and dance. And
Did you see any difference between the black folks from the country versus the ones who lived in town in Crockett? Were they?
when they first like I said, about moved kids from country, they was kind of looked like they kind of looked down on country. They called us
Really?
country. But after a while, after we started intermingling with each other, playing football and basketball and stuff together, it kind of worked out okay after that. But when you first go in there, they had their little friends, little groups, you know what I mean, that they hung out with,
Okay.
and you was kind of an outsider. They used to send a truck out to pick people up. Otherwise, they come around and before the cotton season over, they come around to all the homes and ask, can I come pick you up to come pick cotton or chop cotton? And if you say you go, they'll come around and pick you up in the morning and go chop cotton all day long and bring you back home in the evening. So they did that.
They did that
And they did.
Germany.
I guess they did that in downtown too.
Yeah, but they did that in the Germany community.
Yeah. They come around and pick you up and take you to the field and bring you back home in the evening.
How did those guys, the ones that you remember, how did they treat y'all?
It was okay. They ain't paid nothing, but worked the hell out of it, made $3 a day for chopping, about $3.50 a day all day for chopping cotton.
Uh-huh.
That wasn't very much pay, but things didn't cost as much as they do now. You know what I mean? Like I said, you could buy a whole bill of groceries for $30.
Yeah.
Now you can't buy 2 pieces of meat for $30 now.
When you look back on how hard y'all had to work when you were a kid, does it surprise you? You know, because life is so easy now compared to what it used to be.
Well, I'm not bigger. I told my sister we came up the rough side of the mountain, but it's much different for you. It's much different now. But I can appreciate it though, and I think it kind of builds you on a foundation. You know what I mean? And I tell everybody, longevity is something that I think is part of what you did when you were growing up, because I found out a long time ago, you are what you eat, okay? And if you build a house on a solid foundation, and if your body is pretty sound, I think that's part to do with longevity in your life. Because see, most kids now grave on junk food. They go to hamburgers and all that. We very seldom we ate whole food from the garden, from the field, and all that stuff. So, like I said, my mom had 7 kids, 5 of us still living. So that's I think that's a reason why, part of the reason why we still living. And then too, we lived a pretty. We tried to stay within reason. As my daddy said, do everything in moderation, and you will come out okay. It's like when I was about 14 years old, I like to get drowned in Galveston Bay. We went down there for, I guess, 4th of July, and me and my cousin, 2 of my cousins and I, and we had inner tubes, and we was going out there in that water on the inner tubes. And so, you know, they got a perimeter where they don't want you to go outside that perimeter. And so I got on my inner tube, and the water was kind of calm. But I wanted to go further out. So I got my inner. I went out past them, past that barrier, and I got out there, and I didn't know nothing about it. They got what they call an undercurrent, and I didn't know about no undercurrent then. And that damn undercurrent got me, and it started to flipping me. It started flipping me on that inner tube. I'm trying to hold on the inner tube and swim, and it wasn't doing no good. And it just kept taking me. It kept taking me. See, and later on I found out if you swim
You gotta
crossway,
go
you can get out of
yeah,
it. But I didn't know nothing about that. That's the first time. So I'm trying to fight it, and you can't fight it. So my cousin said they were standing out there and saw me. Said the lifeguard said, "Oh, that boy way out there, he must really can swim." They said he can't swim.
Oh, no.
They hit that water and came after me. With the wave, and I could see them. Whenever I came up out of the water, I could see them. Then they would. What happened when the wave come up? They would go underneath the wave. You know what I mean? They go there and come up on the other side. And I didn't see them no more. And I kept trying to hold on to that. And so I said, "Well, I'm gonna get a death grip on this damn inner tube. I ain't gonna lose it." I locked onto that inner tube, and it was flipping and flopping. And so finally they got to me, so they wouldn't come up to me. They don't want you. They say they come around you. So they got behind me. They got behind me, and they had me put my feet in. They kept pushing me till I got back to where I could stand up. I got that inner tube. I didn't go back to Galveston. No. I said, I ain't never going back to Galveston no more. I'm about 14. So
you thought you were about to die.
I thought I was going to die. Man, I could see them ships. Them ships was coming out there about 5 minutes to the end of the thing. And I was getting... I said that was close to me. I thought that was close. So I didn't go back no more till I came out of the Navy. Because you had to learn how to swim when you was in the Navy, else you can't get out of boot camp. Anyway, that's when I went back to Galveston. Me and my wife, my girl, she was my girlfriend then. Me and her went down there one time on the weekend after I came out of the Navy. But I learned the hard way.
Wow. Did you ever get in trouble when you were in school? Or were
I used to like to fight.
Really?
I'd get in a fight in a minute.
What were you fighting over?
Didn't make no difference. You call me a name or say something I didn't like, I challenge it. If you didn't like it, we go. I'd drive.
What did they do to discipline y'all at school?
Put that board on your behind.
What kind of board?
A paddle. A paddle. Some of them had a strap, but most of them had a little. They pop you with that paddle.
What would your father do to y'all?
Dad had a belt.
Yeah.
Yeah, he put that. But Daddy whipped us about. Daddy didn't want to whip, but when he whipped you, you remembered it, okay? Because he would tell you. Daddy would promise you, if you don't do so and so, you're gonna pay the price. And he meant that. And he put that belt on you. He did about 3 or 4 licks, and you remember every one of them. Cause damn, he said, "I'll lift the skin on your behind." That's what he. But you didn't disobey Dad. Now, Mama, we kind of, she wasn't too cool. But Mama whipped her, she probably whipped me about a half a dozen times. But Daddy whipped me about 3, but I just didn't challenge Daddy no more.
Now, tell me the horse story.
The horse?
When you got hit when you were on the horse.
Oh, I tried to cross the highway, and the school bus was coming down, and he was blinking to turn right, and he usually go down that lane. So I looked both ways. I didn't see no car coming, so I decided to cross the highway to get the mail from the mailbox, and he kept on going. He changed his mind because he could have, he wanted to go down to, and he changed his mind and kept on going. And by that time, and what happened when I was going this way, he went the same way. Was trying to go around that way, but I was going that way too. And it hit the horse right here in that shoulder, and the headlight cut a big gash out, about big as this here, hanging like that hanging, and blood was coming out. And I went over the hood of the bus and hit the highway on the other side on my all fours. I was all skin up, and I think that's another time. If a car had been coming, I'd have been dead. If I'd have hit that windshield, I'd have been dead. But I went right over the hood, hit the pavement, and then the horse got up, and I got up. Went over to the side.
The bus driver didn't stop?
Yeah, he stopped. Yeah, but what happened, when he hit, it was just like that. It didn't went over, it just knocked us down.
Yeah.
So, and then like I said, the horse bled all the way up to my uncle's house, and then she read that verse I told you about, Ezekiel 16:6, and that's what stopped the blood. That's the only thing that stops because I'm out there trying to do this here, and the blood just running all over my hand, man. Dog. I just knew that horse was gonna die. But he didn't die. He lived for years.
Wow. Was all the grown folks out there, were they all dipping snuff or chewing tobacco?
Most of them did.
Yeah.
Yeah, most of them dip snuff, and pipes, smoke pipes and dip snuff. But didn't too many people smoke cigarettes. Most of it was dip snuff, and some people smoke cigarettes. Most of snuff and chewing tobacco.
Yeah. Do you remember any of the real old songs that y'all used to sing?
Near the Cross,
Mm-hmm.
Daily Walking, they walking daily with you.
What about Jesus getting us ready for that great
day? And Swing Low, Sweet Chariot. That was one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Swing low, sweet chariot.
Oh yeah.
Coming for to carry me home.
Yeah.
Looked over Jordan and what did I see? Band of angels coming after me, coming for to carry me home. That's one of my favorites.
That's a good one. Yeah. All right. So, anybody watching this, what's your advice? Life advice. What would you tell people?
Do everything in moderation. That's what my dad gave me. I mean, I can't give them no better information. Keep everything in moderation. And most of the time, you're going to come out all right.
And don't go swimming too far in Galveston.
And don't swim. Don't go past the barriers in Galveston, especially if you can't swim.